welcome to another of my 10-minute watercolour studies, and today I want to have a go at a scene featuring these islands off the west coast of Scotland in the Hebrides. So let's have a look at the palette. I'm going to be using these pure colours on the palette today. There's not a lot of mixing involved here. So I've got some Payne's grey and some cerulean blue, a tiny splash of lemon yellow, tiny splash of alizarin crimson and some burnt umber. So let's start with the sky. I want it to look a little bit stormy, but I want a little bit of blue, and I'm going to try a little bit of pink as well in the sky. So I'm using the Mini Hake, or the Mini Harke. This is the Pro Arty brush. It's my signature wash brush. So I'm just swishing the brush gently across from side to side, and can go up and down as well. The idea is to spread the water out evenly across the whole surface of the paper. So once that's wet and I've got a nice even film of water on it, I'm just going to use my Mini Hake now. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that cerulean blue out with the brush. I'm going to flick a little of that into the central area of the sky. Just a really delicate little flick of the brush. There's plenty there. And I'm also just going to use my number 10 spearhead, which I've just dampened. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of the alizarin crimson and just flick that across like that, so it's just really just visible. And I've used a different brush so that the blue didn't contaminate the crimson. I'm going to go back to the Mini Hake now, and now I'm going to just go directly to the Payne's grey. And I'm going to create some storm clouds now. So I'm going to pick up a fair amount of paint. I'm going to flick this in now from the top. You can see the brush strokes are actually starting on the tape. I'll make sure I don't get any sort of white edges there. It looks like the clouds are disappearing out of the scene. I'll just pull a little of that in, just gently turning and twisting the brush to get those lovely narrow tapered bits. And let's have a little bit of cloud coming across here between those two colours. There we go. And then I'm just going to beef up with a little bit more of the grey and just strengthen, particularly from this outside edge. Maybe just coming across here like that. So the idea really now is just to get that paint on as quickly as I can and then leave it to settle. But what I'm going to do is just take off the excess water now from the tape, because that water on the tape might start blowing back into the painting and cause watermarks around the edge. So if I just remove it carefully with the kitchen towel, I can prevent that from happening. Now it's a case of leaving it to settle and then drying it with a hairdryer. Right, that's dried off nicely, and I'm just going to paint these distant islands on here now. So I'm going to use a little bit of the burnt umber. So I'm just put a little bit of water. I'm using a number 6 spearhead brush here. It's one of my signature round brushes. Got a nice sharp point on it. Just a little bit of water, just to loosen off that burnt umber. And then I'm going to try and just create the effect of some light. So the brush is full of paint. I'll start on this left-hand side here and just start at the top. I want the whole thing to be wet. So just draw the paint down, but I'm going to refill the brush with paint so that it doesn't run out. And I'll just carefully paint in that distant headland there, island there. Pull the paint across, and then I'm going to just dip into the strong Payne's grey here, and I'm going to blend some of that in on this right hand side, and this will just create a shadow, a dark side of the island, and create a sense of light coming in from the left, and then just making sure it's a little bit darker along the bottom edge. That's fine. So that's that one sorted out. There's another little flake there across there. That's lovely. So that now needs to be dry before I can do this one. So when you next come back to me, I'll have done that one. Okay, that's dried off, and the next step now is to create a little narrow strip of the sea in the distance. So as you can see, I'm just using my number 6 spearhead again, Just loosening off some of this cerulean blue. And what I'm going to do is just use the tip of the brush to run across here. I'm going to try and leave a little narrow white space, so, except for that bit there where there is no island. There we go. Just go up to the pencil line. And that little white space there just gives a little separation. Just running out of paint there, so I'll just pick up a little bit more. There we go. And this band of sea is probably only about 1 centimetre to 15 mils wide. A little bit wider there and across here. So I don't want it to be any wider than that. Say about 15 mils. And then I'm going to try and create a little bit of a soft reflection of these islands in that cerulean blue while it's still wet. So I'm just picking up a little Payne's grey. I'm just going to pull that underneath, just blend it into that cerulean so that the water is a little bit darker, just underneath, directly underneath the islands like that. Just gives the little hint of a reflection of the islands in the paint. And that will do. I don't really want to add a deal more to that. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I've dried that off, and what I'm going to do now is do a very impressionistic foreground. I'm actually going to make this slightly turquoise. So let me just pull some of the paint out, and I'm going to add the tiniest amount of lemon yellow to it. We don't want too much, otherwise it'll grow a deep emerald green, and I'm looking really for just that turquoisey colour. Beautiful, look at that. And I'm going to use the shape of the brush now, the sort of flat shape of it. I'm going to work from here, and I'm going to pull across this zigzag, a zigzag line like this, which will look like a water channel, getting it a bit wider down here in the foreground, coming across the beach. And then I'm going to go to my number 10, which is my round brush, and I'm going to basically fill that up with water and just use a very dilute mix of the burnt umber. So even though this is a dark brown colour, when it's as diluted as this, it will look like a gorgeous soft beige colour, just the colour of the sand in the Hebrides. So I'm doing this while this is still wet. It may just blend a little with it at the edges as I drag it across. So I'm pulling that across now. I'm just going to drag it into that blue. And put a little bit through here. There, you can just see it's just softened that edge by dragging the brush across it. Just keep changing that angle as I come with the brush. And then just a tiny bit more paint, so it's a little bit stronger down here. Long brush strokes, as you can see. It's a lovely impressionistic view. There's got a little watermark there, so I'm just going to drag the brush across it to try and stop that water moving any further. Now I'm also going to just take a tiny bit of the alizarin crimson and flick a little of that in as well. Be barely visible, but it'll just give the colour of the sand just a little touch. Right, I'm now going to use a Pro Arty 1/2 inch flat brush. This is one of the 106 series brushes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some of this strong Payne's grey, and I'm going to use this long, sharp edge of the brush to create some quite sort of impressionistic shapes coming in from the right, which I'm hoping will look like just some rocks on the beach, sort of just poking the way out of the sand. So I've put some over there. It's just a case of keeping the brush horizontal. Let's have a little few marks over here. You can actually just touch the brush down, look, and it'll give you just a single mark like that. And then we'll have some more coming down here. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to change the direction of the brush in a sec. I'm going to actually come down like this as well. So I'm cutting across the line of it as well, which gives a variety to the marks and shapes on the beach. And I don't want to overdo this, it's just an impression of markings on the beach. A little bit stronger just here, and maybe just a few more, couple more down here. So that's it. I'm not going to do anything more to that. I'm not even going to put any birds or people on it. I'm going to put a mount on it, which as ever makes a huge difference. There we go, that takes away all the mess from around the edge. So I hope you've enjoyed watching that, and please do subscribe and keep your eyes open for more videos on my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again on another video.